Hello there, so it is mid-February 2022 and my BMW 325i Touring has just attended its second MOT. I thought it would be a good time to go into some of the specifics with regards to cost. Now, as some of you may know, I purchased a BMW 325i Touring in December 2020. I continued to work on that car throughout 2021. The car is now more or less perfect, so I thought I'd take the time to run through a breakdown of everything the car has cost me up till now to help furnish you with the detail of the refurbishment in case you're looking to undertake a similar project. Now, if you haven't watched the first and second part of my series on refurbishing a BMW 325i Touring, be sure to have a look through my channel. There you'll find that I purchased a BMW 325i Touring, an E91 325i Touring for the grand total of £1,600. The car was originally priced at 1,800 quid. I managed to purchase the car for 1,600 quid as a non-runner. I have a mixture really of MOT certificates and some receipts, so I'll try and give you the context. If you haven't already watched my short series on refurbishing a BMW 325i Touring as a daily runner, please take the opportunity to watch the 3 or so videos that I have released on my channel. Now, I have the first MOT really from 2019 that expired in December 2020. This was soon after me purchasing the car. So in December 2019, the car had 94,000 miles. So basically, between 2019 and 2020, the car put on around 16,000 miles. So obviously, you know, quite a high usage. Usually most cars do, what, 8,000 or 9,000 miles a year. So the owner of the car was using the car regularly, and the MOT really that expired in 2020 just had 4 tyres that needed to be replaced. Now, the real issue really with this car is any BMW when it gets to 100,000 miles tends to need to have a number of items replaced, and I'll work through those items now. So the MOT that I received on the 21st of January, which was the first MOT that I paid for. I purchased the car, I think it was on the 6th of December 2020. It took a while for me to try and diagnose the problem. I think I eventually fitted a new battery at the start of January, and soon after the car needed a starter motor. I didn't have the expertise really to do that, so I took it to my local auto shop who fitted the starter motor and also gave the car an MOT. I'll go through a breakdown of that list shortly in terms of what they replaced. I believe the bill was around 500 quid, if I remember correctly. So this is really what they detected. Front registration plate slightly damaged, oil leak but not excessive, under trays. So yeah, hopefully that's the oil pan housing gasket. So it doesn't say if it's an engine leak, but since it's saying under trays, yeah, I'd like to think that it's at the bottom of the car, so hopefully something that should be quite easy to replace. The car has already had the rocker cover gasket replaced and the oil filter housing gasket recently as well, so hopefully I should be good for another 100,000 miles. So hopefully, yeah, it is just the oil filter housing gasket that needs to be replaced. So there's a brake hose slightly deteriorated near side rear, brake hose slightly deteriorated off side rear, and brake pads wearing thin. And in fact, these brake hoses are the items that were repaired around a week ago. So I had all of the brake hoses fixed then. So yeah, that was the first MOT in January 2021. I've just had the second MOT. So yeah, the first MOT, that's what they picked up on. Now, what was the spend really for that MOT? Well, so the breakdown was basically £490. There's MOT fee, spark plugs, rear brake pads. That was £200, and then there was also a starter motor which was £90, and then the fitting and diagnostic was 200 quid. So the starter motor really cost 290 quid, and then to get the car to pass its MOT it was a further 200 quid. I asked for them to replace the spark plugs while they were changing the starter motor. It made sense. They didn't request that work be done. I just thought that would be sort of preventative maintenance at the time, and then obviously some rear brake pads as well. So that was really the first bill. The ultimate first bill I think was £90 for a battery, and that came with a 3-year warranty. I've got that receipt. In fact, yeah, I'll find that receipt. So the chronology really was a new battery, UASA battery. I didn't realise that it came with a 3-year warranty. So if you're looking to buy a replacement battery, I think I've just replaced the battery on a BMW 530i. I think I purchased, it's a red something, the battery brand. That only came with a 1-year warranty. So UASA batteries are worth getting because they come with a 3-year warranty. So £90 for the UASA battery that managed to get the car running, and £490 to get the car back up on the road with its first MOT on the 22nd of January 2021. So that was the initial expenditure. I also took the car to local high street mechanics. I'm trying to think, yes, it was Quick Fit. They saw that the car was smoking. It needed an O2 sensor fix, but they recommended that I purchase some petrol system cleaner, and I ended up purchasing 2 bottles for 40 quid, 20 quid each. You can purchase some of these petrol cleaners. I've seen some in Asda. I've also seen some, so if you're not in the UK, Asda is the equivalent of Walmart in America, a very popular supermarket. There's also another German supermarket called Aldi or Lidl, and in there you can find, I think, little Ridex system cleaners, usually for about 4 quid. I paid 20 quid, so obviously a huge markup there. So if you're looking, as I say, to purchase some petrol system cleaner, I'd highly recommend that you go to Lidl or even Asda. They have some very, very good petrol system cleaners for next to nothing. So that was another expense, 40 quid. Now we have another MOT certificate. This is the most recent one, so I'll drop that right to the back. This is a receipt for £90 for the battery. So it was a UASA battery that I purchased for £90. I then went to the BMW dealer to purchase some hubcaps, for the wheels. They were £10.67 each, basically £45 for 4 of them. I also purchased a gear knob. In fact, I've got the one that was on the car originally here. So this is the rather grotty and rather worn gear stick that I replaced. So one of these from BMW is going to set you back £125, and so yeah, that's the cost for the gear knob. I also purchased a license plate holder for £35.76, and also the screws associated with that. So that was a bill for £240. and £46.19 from BMW for some OEM parts. I also took the car to get regassed earlier in the summer. I had both my touring cars, the 330i Touring and the 325i Touring, regassed at a cost of £59 each. So the gas is for the air conditioning, if you're wanting to ensure that the air conditioning works. So that was an additional £60. I also have some invoices for some ignition coils. I replaced all the ignition coils on the BMW. The total cost was about £60 for the first two that I purchased. Then I purchased another 4, so 120. So really around £180 for 6 ignition coils. I think you can basically get the ignition coils for a little bit cheaper. I use Euro car parts, partly because they're just really brilliant for customer service. They tend to be very good if you're looking for parts very quickly. You can purchase them there. Sometimes they're a little bit more expensive, but yeah, that's because you're not waiting weeks and weeks and weeks for the parts to arrive. But for me, it's the first class customer service that I received from them. And in fact, I was quite stuck where I'd purchased ignition coils that didn't fit on my car. And then I went to another auto shop, I think it was Champion Motor Spares, and they also told me to purchase some ignition coils that were the wrong code. For whatever reason, they weren't fitting the correct ignition coils when I gave them my number plate. But Euro car parts were great, and they are consistently great. Whenever I go there, to be honest, the customer service is just, you know, for me it's worth sometimes the extra cash. Obviously, if you're an auto shop, you probably have your own sort of preferred dealers, but if you're a budding mechanic and struggling, for me one of the biggest challenges really working on cars is ordering the correct parts. Frequently I order the wrong parts, and the fix that I'm attempting ends up costing 2 or 3 times as much, so it's very frustrating. I've still got another 7 or so ignition coils that I purchased that I've not done anything with yet. I'm hoping at some point I'll own a BMW where those will fit, and I'll just replace the ignition coils on that car. So yeah, absolutely stellar customer service from Euro car parts. I have another bill here for HID kit that was fitted for £110. This was an MOT failure. So one of the recent failures on my MOT was the xenon light bulbs that I had fitted. The MOT inspector complained about the height. So obviously the person that fitted the HID bulbs really didn't consider the MOT standard height. There's a distance that lights need to satisfy. I probably needed to get a competent sort of technician really to reset the xenon light bulbs. I'm not really sure whether I'd recommend HID upgrades really on a BMW E90, E91, E92, E93 because, as I say, they failed a recent MOT, and he ended up putting the previous sort of halogen lights that I purchased again. So that was a bit of a waste of money because the upgrade was reversed by the MOT sort of inspector. I'll be looking to purchase some of the final xenon headlights. So BMW really have kind of 4 iterations for the E90, E91, E92, E93. There's the first kind of iteration which was just halogen, and then there's a slightly nicer one that's on my 330i Touring, and then the ones that were on the facelift model were quite nice, but the ones on the M Sport are really the most desired ones, but those are quite expensive. You're literally talking £800 to £900 for a pair of those headlights. I'll be looking to purchase those in due course and to fit them on my BMW 325i Touring. So hopefully this MOT failure will get resolved with some official OEM parts rather than this add-on HID kit that failed when it went to the MOT. So yeah, the MOT around a week ago, I basically forgot that the car was due an MOT. I've got 3 or so cars now, but anyway, I took it down, had the car booked in, and the car really needed a few things doing. I purchased a replacement registration plate. It was one of the 3D ones, and the technician was quite surprised that I had some license plates ready, because he had expected to really just fail that perpetually for the reason where it really had a crack. If there's any time, we might nip outside and have a look at the registration plate. I've still got that. So yeah, registration plate deteriorated. But actually, let me actually go through the actual failure here, because it had quite a few things it failed on. Headlamp aim too high, offside front. Headlamp light source and lamp not compatible, HIDs fitted. So this technician, MOT technician, you'd never really get any sort of HID upgrades through him. They failed straight away, so I ended up, as I say, wasting £110 and probably another sort of 40 or 50 quid to return the car back to what it was originally. So shock absorbers, in fact this is one of the most annoying sounds that you can hear when you're setting off, especially. The shock absorbers had a serious fluid leak near side front. Yeah, you could definitely hear it. So that was a good issue that got resolved. In fact, I was planning to get the sort of Bilstein shock absorbers. My BMW 335i Touring has Coney shock absorbers. I hadn't realised that, but they really, every nook and cranny in the road you can feel, especially when you put your foot on the brake on the 335i Touring. Yeah, I'm not so sure I'm that fond of the Coney shock absorbers. Maybe they've not been done correctly. I think there was something noted on the MOT there, so probably some more surprises with the 335i Touring. So anyway, back to the 325i Touring. Shock absorbers had a serious fluid leak. That was addressed. Brake hose excessively damaged near side rear. Brake hose excessively damaged offside rear. Brake hose excessively deteriorated near side rear. So these all got resolved around a week ago. Including the registration plate. The oil leak remains. I thought the car also had a coolant leak, but they said they turned the car on for 2 hours and there was no issues with coolant. So the car is more or less perfect now, because it's had everything sort of replaced. Now there are some other items that I had done by my neighbour, who's a car mechanic. One of my neighbours is he's got a mobile van where he goes to attend to broken vehicles, and he gave me some excellent sort of prices. So yeah, I've got a full breakdown now of everything, and we'll just go through that very quickly, and to, as I say, help you determine really whether you have the sort of appetite to undertake a similar project. So the battery, £90, we've already mentioned that. Petrol system cleaner, 2 bottles, that was £40. Service and MOT, £490, so that was the initial MOT. Parts and gear sticks, so that's the BMW, which is £246.19. Gas, which is the air conditioning gas, was £59. Ignition coils, around £180 in total. HID lights, £110. I purchased a 3D number plate, and there's a sort of BMW sort of housing that BMW fans tend to go for. In fact, it proved incredibly useful to actually house the number plate, which is really quite thick, so they couldn't actually screw that on when the MOT raised that as an advisory a week ago. So that has been fitted. We'll nip outside hopefully and just have a quick look at that. The biggest cost really were the wheels. I fitted some Roku CSL style wheels. Those wheels and tyres came up to around £900. I didn't need to do this, but as some of you have seen really in my series on refurbishing a BMW 325i Touring, it had two cracked wheels. The MV193 wheels were cracked, and really if you went to BMW to replace those two, you'd have been paying maybe 1,400 to 1,700, but the front wheels really would have needed replacing as well, or refurbishment. So really I needed to replace all four wheels, and I didn't have an appetite to go to BMW, so I purchased some CSL style wheels. Depending on really whether I keep the car or I might decide to sell it, depending on how much I'm offered, it could be that I keep the CSL style wheels. If you've got a tyre kicker, then I'll just put the cracked wheels back on and just sell it for next to nothing, because some people, especially on particular sort of sides really where you're selling cars, they're just expecting something for nothing. So I've still got the cracked wheels. Again, I may get those welded, but I'll probably not use those. But long term, I still may go back to BMW to purchase some OEM wheels, because they really look the part really. The front pads and discs, I had my neighbour change those. The rear pads were changed in the first MOT, but the front pads and discs needed to be replaced. That work was done maybe around 6 months ago by my neighbour. Total cost was around £200, and he did an oil service at the same time, you know, so changed all the oil. One of the first items that needed to be replaced as well was an O2 sensor. That cost £65 for a Bosch O2 sensor. I found that I didn't have all the necessary tools when I went to replace it, so my neighbour kind of helped me get the O2 sensor out. I also then paid him for an oil service, so in total I think I paid him around £100 to help me fit the O2 sensor and an oil service, which is tremendous value really. So that was £65 for the O2 sensor, and then an oil service. Really, as I say, I've had two of these done by my neighbour, around £100 for both, you know, the oil filter changing and, you know, 6.5 litres of oil. Yeah, so I've also updated the grille. I think I've updated those grills twice. You know, I've got some new replacement grills here. These cost probably around £20 on eBay, so £40 ready for a couple of grills. The last MOT was £445, so that was getting all the brake lines replaced, the HID kit, fitting a new number plate, and really, if I'm honest, the car is an absolute dream to drive now. It's more or less perfect, a real joy to drive. So yeah, that was another sort of £450. So really the total comes to £2,956, or thereabouts really, not including probably a couple of the grills. So yeah, it's basically cost around £3,000 to get the BMW E91 325i Touring back to where it's roadworthy and reliable. If you are looking to undertake similar sort of projects, that's really what you can expect to pay for a BMW with over 100,000 miles. So there is the crack on the license plate that was creating the MOT advisory, and there are some license plate holders. There's the one that was on the car, and that's the OEM one from BMW, but these weren't used. That is the 3D number plate that's on the car with the housing. that is holding the new number plate. If you're enjoying the content on this channel, please be sure to like, comment and subscribe. It really does help with the YouTube algorithm.